This is a Clubmark accredited club, and we have been, I think, for the last 8 years. We renewed it last year, and we were very fortunate that, having informed our members of the importance of Clubmark, a number of them became heavily involved with the process. So it wasn't just me. There were other people who took responsibility for various bits of it. When you're looking at the insurance provisions, a lot of people are mistaken in believing all they need to do is have a £5 million limit of public liability. Although that's part of it, and that is the minimum limit recommended by the ECB, it's a little more involved than that. First of all, you have to ensure that all aspects of match activity and junior coaching are covered. Now, clearly, match activity, you want to make sure that not only are you covering third-party property damage and bodily injury, but you're also covering the liability that may arise between members. So if one member injures another member, you want to make sure that that liability or potential liability for the club is covered. And the way you do it is you actually add on the member-to-member liability extension. Not all policies cover it, so therefore you have to make sure it is included, and it may cost a little more money, but if you don't have that, you're obviously not covering all aspects of match activity. The second point is the junior coaches. As I said before, there is a requirement now that non-ECB Coaching Association members actually have professional indemnity and or public liability insurance in place. It's important that if you've got coaches working, and instead of it being an incidents occur that are as a result of negligent advice, that they are actually covered. There's a lot of insurance policies that say they do cover it. There's a lot of people who say they're Clubmark compliant. Sometimes you just have to read a little more deeply in what it says. The other thing that now is part of the Clubmark insurance provisions is that all non-coaching members of the club are covered for any liabilities they may incur. That should be covered under the public liability policy in any case, but obviously you will need then to make sure the member-to-member extension is on it. If not, then obviously there could be a little bit of a gap.
Is the member-to-member piece not standard on every policy then? It's an extension to cover?
It's an extension to cover. And
it strikes me as odd that it's not a standard cover under a policy.
There is a major insurer who offer a sport, hobbies and pursuits policy that doesn't include member-to-member cover.
So effectively what you're saying is people who don't necessarily have a specialist cricket club policy rather than just a generic sports club policy may not have the cover that's required under Clubmark.
Yep, that's the way it goes. So, as a club, if you're trying to run a club as a committee, then the last thing you really want is, your number 4 batsman for your first team putting in a bill for £5,000 for dental work because he got smashed in the face by the number 3 batsman who didn't keep a straight drive on the ground. And I know they wear helmets and everything else, but you do see a lot of club people injured by their own players. And there's also other issues around close fielders. If you're trying to, particularly when you move down the leagues, if you as a captain are trying to win a game and you suddenly put in people around the bat, they're not always wearing all the right equipment. People who field at short leg won't wear a helmet, won't wear a box because they're just trying to get a win at the end of the game. If one of those guys gets injured, then technically the captain's got responsibility. That would fall under the professional indemnity cover. That's why we sell it, really, so that there's no grey area. In virtually every other policy, there's a grey area. They exclude advice. Most clubs will assume that if they buy a public liability policy from someone who's reputable, that they've got all the cover that they need. And it's only when you go into the policy wording and you start looking at any restrictions on cover that you then can start gauge how adequate it is for your needs. What I've tried to do with our policies, certainly our 2 main providers, is we take away the grey areas, we make sure that it is covered. So you know when you buy a policy from us, it is covered. I highlight the areas that are covered. I highlight the fact that you either got £1 million or £5 million of professional indemnity cover for coaches, captains and officials. Because again, umpires can get dragged into it these days. You know, if umpires don't step in when there's persistent short pitch bowling and a player gets injured, the player can actually sue the umpire. So as a club, you need to make sure that all of these potential incidents are covered within your policy. And again, if you look around, they're not all the same. I spend most of my time telling people that not all insurance policies are the same, and be aware of this, be aware of that. And I say I've made sure that ours gives clubs the full cover.